and welcome. Today we're going to do another vintage RC car video. Today we're going to be looking at this one, the Nikko Turbo Panther. This is a car that came out of the mid-1980s to the late 80s and maybe even in the early 90s a little bit. This particular model belonged to my wife. This is her favorite RC car of all time. And of course, what would the video be without putting it against my favorite RC car of all time? The SEARS Lobo, which is also made by Nikko as well, but branded as SEARS Lobo. So they are both from the same family tree, but they're both a little bit different. We're gonna pit them together and see which one is the best. Okay, so we're in the workshop and we're gonna take a quick look at the Nikko Turbo Panther. As you can see here, we have the Turbo Panther that is a white Turbo Panther. Now, Turbo Panthers, I believe they came out around 1986, and I'm not sure how long they manufactured them or how many models they've made. I've seen them in a few colors, so I'm not quite sure when this white one was made. If you have any information on that, please leave it in the comments. I'd love to know. But this is, at least in my family's history, I know my wife was using this when she was a kid in the early 1990s. So this might be a later model. I'm not sure. Again, if you have any information on it, please leave it in the comments. But as you can see here, it is pretty standard as far as its aesthetics, you know, how it looks cosmetically to other vintage frame buggy RC cars that were at the toy level back in the late 80s. And early 90s. So here you see here, this is a turbo hopper, also from the mid 1980s, and you can see they are kind of comparable in size. I mean, they're obviously a lot different internally in design, but they are similar. So that's kind of like your competition back in the 80s, Tyco, Nikko, but we'll do the turbo hopper some other time. Today we're looking at the Nikko Turbo Panther, and as you can see for this one, it's been used, well used. We're missing a sticker here, got some damage there, but it still runs, and we're going to take a look at that today. You know, just some design pieces here. We have our spring shocks. We have a Nikko branded bumper. The antenna is one of the wire style where it uses the plastic tube. We have our knobby tires. Take a look at the back here. You have your motor and gearbox. You could also call it a transmission. You have your low and high gear switch. Look underneath. We have here our wheel alignment. And this is the lock for your battery compartment, which this car uses 8 AA's. And of course, the controller would use 1 9-volt. And you also have a nice feature here where the on and off switch is at the top of the model. So that is basically your Nikko Turbo Panther. Okay, so now we're just going to do a brief size comparison between the Turbo Panther and the Lobo, as we already did that with the Tyco Turbo Hopper, which was kind of, I guess, the direct competition for the Turbo Panther. The Lobo is actually from the same brand, Nikko, just rebranded as SEARS. So they're from the same family tree, so they are going to be quite similar. However, they are different designs. Given that the Lobo is a little bit larger, as you can see here, as I kind of line them up here, pull this one in front a little bit, you can see how where the wheels are, how the Lobo is a little wider, it's a little longer, so they are slightly different, but they do come from the same family tree, so they should have lots of similar characteristics. Okay, so I also wanted to show you the controller here. So this is your Nikko controller for the Turbo Panther. It is a stick controller. As you can see, you can go push up for low speed, backwards for reverse, and then up and to the right, and then up again, and that's your high speed or turbo, however you want to call it. And then on your right stick, push for left and right for steering. Has a telescoping antenna, so you can extend your range to transmit. Also has a power light when it's in use. This will come on when you start kind of moving these sticks around. There is no power switch to the controller. Works off a 9-volt battery, and this one is in 49 megahertz to match the 49 megahertz of our Turbo Panther. Now, from other videos that I've done on the SEARS Lobo, I have mentioned in the past how Lobos are rebranded Nikko equipment. So, as you can see here, this is the SEARS Lobo controller. So just for comparison, it is absolutely identical except for the sticker and the transmission frequency. So you can see here, SEARS RC Systems versus Nikko RC Systems. And then your transmitter frequency is 27 versus the 49. It also looks like this has some sort of sticker there, which this Lobo one does not have. It might have been there and fallen off over the years. Keep in mind, these are really, really old. But they function the same. Even has a telescoping antenna and works off the 9-volt battery. See, it even says 1985 Nikko on it. So there you go. Let's just see. What does this one say? 1985 Nikko. There you go. So you see, they are the same, just rebranded. Okay, and one last thing I forgot to mention in regards to the steering. If you see my Lobo 1 video or my Lobo 2 video, you'll know that the Lobo 1 does not have power steering, but the Lobo 2 does. The Nikko Turbo Panther, this one that I have here, does not have power steering either. So steering should also be evenly matched for the race that we will try. Okay, so we just did a brief overview of the Nikko Turbo Panther, and now we're going to head out and race it against the SEARS Lobo, which I also kind of briefly showed you in the workshop. Now, just a little disclaimer, I am not a historian on these radio-controlled cars, so when I did the comparisons, I do have a video separate for the SEARS Lobo, and you know, you can check that out for more details on the Lobo. But please know that both these cars were made by the same brand, Nikko, even though the Lobo was branded as SEARS. But they are different cars, and I've just pointed out the size differences, but the internal differences as well, you know, like the motor size, the electronics inside the cars, they can very well be different, and they likely are to an extent. They may not be identical, they could be similar, but I didn't want to open up the cars and chance breaking them because these are both well over 30 years old, and best to leave them sealed unless you have to open them. So like I said, I'm not an expert on it, but I'm sure there are people out there on YouTube that can tell you all about the internal mechanisms if you really want to see if the motor's larger and so forth. But for me, my review's kind of basic. But let's go race them. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a race, and this race will decide which one seems to handle and operate better. To take a look at this is what we're going to do. Okay, here's how the race is going to work. We have pumpkin markers. Okay, now what's going to happen is cars are going to start here, go outside the lines as best as they can, then come through between those two pumpkins there, come outside the lines as best we can, come back in, and this is our finish line. Now we're going to do this for 3 laps. The end of the 3rd lap, First car in is the winner. All right. Both cars will be racing in high gear. So let's get this started.
Go. Oh, oh, oh. I don't know if we went around that pumpkin.
One lap.
Oh, oh no.
The winner's gonna be the SEARS Lobo. On your marks. Get set. Go. One lap. Two laps. Lobo's coming around. Three laps. Oh, the Lobo wins. Ah. Okay, so next we're going to try a drag race. So as you can see right here, we have our cars here, our starting line where the pumpkins are, and it's going to go all the way out there to where those other pumpkins are if you can see them. So that's going to be our drag race. So let's try this.
Marks, get set, go.
On your mark. Get set. Go.
Okay, so there you have it. We tried some lap racing and we tried some drag racing, and you be the judge. The Lobos seemed to win all of the races, if I can recall, but also could be the drivers, so you be the judge which one is better. But I hope you enjoyed the video. My personal opinion, I like the Lobo, but my family likes the Turbo Panther. So there you go. Have a good day.